you could be a cybercrime superhero? In the UK, there's been a 1,000% increase in the number of attacks in just 18 months, and £4.6 billion was lost to hacking last year. So that's where you come in. There are over 12,800 job opportunities in digital technologies in Scotland, many of them in cybersecurity. It's well paid. The average cybersecurity salary in Scotland is £51,200. That's more than double the average salary. UK companies sell cybersecurity worldwide, and sales are growing by 15% a year. So a career in cybersecurity is your passport to success anywhere in the world. Find out more at digitalworld.net.
There are thousands of exciting cybersecurity jobs across Scotland. Entry-level salaries starting at £25k and averaging £51,200. Choose ethical hacking and run controlled cyber attacks. Investigate data breaches and help solve cybercrime. Or what about data security? Identify threats and test for weakness. There's so many exciting careers to choose from. Find yours. Visit digitalworld.net and become a digital human. Are you interested in a career in cybersecurity? Finding your path is much easier than you think. Learn at school in computing science or gain National Progression Awards. Choose from a range of cyber apprenticeships. Gain qualifications in cyber courses across Scotland. Or learn at entry level and gain experience. There are so many exciting options to choose from. Find your path. Visit digitalworld.net and become a digital human. Cybersecurity is one of the fastest growing industries in Scotland. You can earn an average of £51,200. Fight against cybercrime and work on exciting projects. Problem solve with teams and work on global brands. Good at thinking outside the box or analysing, or seeing things that others can't. Whatever you're good at. Put your skills to good use in a great career. Find your opportunity. Visit digitalworld.net and become a digital human.
What if you could be a cybercrime superhero? In the UK, there's been a 1,000% increase in the number of attacks in just 18 months, and £4.6 billion was lost to hacking last year. So that's where you come in. There are over 12,800 job opportunities in digital technologies in Scotland, many of them in cybersecurity. It's well paid. The average cybersecurity salary in Scotland is £51,200. That's more than double the average salary. UK companies sell cybersecurity worldwide, and sales are growing by 15% a year. So a career in cybersecurity is your passport to success anywhere in the world. Find out.
Hello and welcome to Cyber Skills Live. My name's Daniel. I'm an engineer who's interested in all things tech and security. You're joining Craig and I for this very special Cyber Skills Live made in partnership with Historic Environment Scotland. Today, you're about to get a history lesson, but also you're going to learn cybersecurity skills in this interactive activity.
Yes, today you're joining us on the battlements of Stirling Castle. And we've got people joining us from all over today. Thank you for joining us. We've got groups from across Scotland, but also around the world. And you're going to have to work together to protect this iconic Scottish landmark. Our world is powered by digital technology, and we need more people who are able to protect it. Whether it's turning on the lights or exchanging messages, this all relies on keeping these things secure. So we need more people with these skills to help us protect it.
Almost half of all businesses in Scotland have identified a skills shortage in cybersecurity. So a career in cybersecurity would mean you play a key role in protecting our digital world.
We're also lucky to be joined today by Kirsten from Historic Environment Scotland. She's a learning officer and she'll be helping answer some of your questions today. Hello, Kirsten.
Hi everyone, my name's Kirsten and I'm a learning officer here at Stirling Castle. So what is cybersecurity to do with a castle like Stirling Castle? Well, in the past, the people that lived in the castle had to be protected, such as kings, queens and lords and ladies. And indeed their possessions had to be protected too. Nowadays, we don't have to just think about the physical security of the castle. We actually have teams in Historic Environment Scotland who look after our computers and security systems. So later on, you're going to find out a bit more about what their job entails. Okay, back to Daniel and Craig.
Thanks, Kirsten. That's right. There are lots of different career options in the cybersecurity sector in Scotland. Now, technology skills are really important, they're really valuable, but it's definitely not just a career for techies. There's lots of other options too.
That's right, there's jobs in marketing, digital forensics, legal, project management as well. It really is a career option for everyone, and yeah, you could be working somewhere like this.
Today, you're going to get a flavour of what it's like to defend one of Scotland's biggest castles from a cyber attack. We're going to be working with Mary Gordon, and she's the network security architect here at Stirling Castle. And her big project at the moment is to defend and improve the security system that they've got at the castle. So as we work through the activity today, we're going to learn a bit about how castles were historically protected, but also how that relates to modern cybersecurity best practice.
The activity you're doing today is based on a real-life job role, that of a cybersecurity architect.
Oh, that's our cue. We better get to our stations. We need to go and defend Stirling Castle.
Stirling Castle, what a place to defend. What you need to do now is go to cyberskillslesson.com and follow the instructions. Click Defend Stirling Castle and start the activity. Craig, did you enjoy visiting Stirling Castle?
Yeah, it was such a brilliant place to walk around. We have these fantastic places in Scotland and we need to protect them. So the activity you're doing today will work in any modern web browser. So you can open up Google Chrome or Firefox or even Edge, and you're going to head to cyberskillslesson.com. And you'll see Start the Live Lesson, Defend Stirling Castle, we're doing today. So you're going to click on that and start the activity. Once you're on there, you can follow the instructions. So you're going to be asked to choose your school as well. So make sure that you find your school on the list. And if it's not there, you can choose My Group Isn't Listed. You can just type in the name of your school and it's going to work the same no matter if your school is there or not. So Daniel, I can see that lots of people are joining already. Thank you everyone for coming along and taking part. We've got people joining from right across the country. Daniel, I think we should give a few shout outs to some of the schools who are taking part today. So when Daniel and I name your school, I want you to make sure you give a big loud cheer in your class so that we know that you're ready to take part. So I'll go for the first couple, Daniel. So let's say hello to Bertha Park High School. Hello, thank you for joining us this morning. And Birch Grove Primary School, thank you for joining us. I think they're from Wales, Daniel, joining us today.
Yeah, we've also got Craigmount High School joining us. Say hello. Leavenmouth Academy, you're playing along as well, welcome.
I can see there's also people joining us from Curluke High School. Hello to you. And hello to Our Ladies High School in Motherwell. Thank you for taking part. We've also got some colleges and universities joining this morning. So I can see Glasgow Clyde College as well. Thank you for joining us. If you are tweeting along with us today, if you're an adult, you can tweet us at #CyberskillsLive and you can use @DigitalWorldHQ. So Daniel, what is it we're going to be doing today?
Yeah, so we're going to be working with Mary Gordon. and she's the network security architect at Stirling Castle. Her big project at the moment is to improve the security of the computer systems that they've got at Stirling Castle. So as you work through the activity today, you're going to learn a bit about castle security and how that relates to modern cybersecurity best practice. But I think the best thing to do here, Craig, would be to bring in our special guest. And our guest today is Learning Officer Kirsten. Hi, Kirsten.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Craig. Hi, Daniel. Hello,
Hi, Kirsten.
pupils.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
So, Kirsten, I've got a bit of a question for you. I can tell from visiting lots of different castles that security was really important and it shaped their designs. But why did castles have to be so secure? What was it that they were protecting?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, castles had lots of types of security, and really it was to protect the people that lived inside the castles. So, with Stirling Castle, for example, it's a royal castle. So kings and queens and other nobility, lords and ladies that would live in the castle. But also you'd have security to protect their possessions. So their jewels, their expensive possessions. And actually the most iconic possession is the Honours of Scotland, better known as the Scottish Crown Jewels, which are actually in Edinburgh Castle today. So if you go there, you can actually see them at that castle.
Brilliant. So really important things to protect then. Thanks very much, Kirsten. We will. I think we'll bring you back in when we've got some more castle questions.
Sure.
Thanks for joining us. So Daniel, we've asked a question to our audience as well. We asked if you've been to Stirling Castle before.
Yeah, we did. So we asked you a poll question and we can take a look at the results. So it looks fairly close, but it does look like more people haven't visited Stirling Castle than have visited. So the yellow colour represents if you've been and the orange colour represents if you've not yet been. And this is live data. This is going to update as more people join and as more people answer the question. So maybe we'll come back and take a look at this later. Have you been?
So what's that saying just now, Daniel? I'm just trying to look closer there. Is there a lot of people have been before, or is it mostly new people? I just missed that.
Yeah, so far I can see 49 people have answered this question and said they have visited, and 69 who have answered the question said they haven't visited. But that number is slowly creeping up as more people join and head onto our website. And the website is cyberskillslesson.com. You'll find that at the bottom of the screen.
That's great. I think we're ready, Daniel, to move on to the first part of our activity then.
Yeah, so first off, we're going to be helping Mary Gordon set up the computer systems. So what you have to do is follow the instructions on screen and answer the questions.
Yeah, so let's move on to our first phase in the activity. So let's bring back in Kirsten for a second here. So Kirsten, I'm going to ask you a question here. Tell me a bit more about where Stirling Castle is built. Why is its location making it more secure?
Sure. Well, Stirling Castle actually sits on a hill, and that hill actually is a volcanic plug, known as a volcanic plug. So we're talking millions of years ago, volcano erupts and leaves that rock formation. So building any castle on a hill is far more defensive than a castle that's built on flat land. If you think about the location, it's up high. It's going to be difficult for any attackers to get up to the castle in the first place. The people inside the castle have got a really good view around the surrounding area, so they can see any armies coming towards the castle. So really the only way to get into the likes of Stirling Castle is there's a natural slope that leads up to the gatehouse, so the entrance to the castle. So, most of the defences would be around there. But if I was to go back in time, I'd be living in a castle on a hill, not on flat land.
When Daniel and I were standing on those battlements, we could see right out, and yeah, you could. There would be no chance of someone being able to sneak up on you from that
Absolutely.
angle as well. So really, then, that positioning of where you're going to put the castle, that's kind of the first step in terms of making something more secure.
Absolutely.
Daniel, do we need to think about things like location when it comes to cybersecurity? Or should we be putting all our servers at the top of a volcanic plug?
Maybe don't need to go that far, but the position of data centers and of sort of server farms does matter. So quite often they're located outside of city centres to make them a bit more difficult to find. Quite often they're in quite fortified buildings. So like if you see an industrial estate, there's a building that has no windows, but it's got a really big fence. then that might be a server farm, that might be a data center, and they often have really interesting sort of security methods, sort of sensors to detect if people arrive, lots of cameras, fences, security, things like that. So I suppose we've got to secure the data, because there could be data about you and I, lots of personal data. So yeah, I suppose the location does matter to some extent. Yeah, definitely, Craig.
We were even talking to someone recently who was talking about their data center that they had, and they had number plate recognition on the car park. So whenever a car even got into the car park, before you'd even parked or it already would know if you were known to that company, where they expecting you. So someone could come out and meet you at your car if you maybe weren't meant to be there. So yeah, I suppose that's a more modern technique as well, but like that idea of thinking about where you put your data center still is true in terms of cybersecurity nowadays. Daniel, how is our classes getting on?
Yeah, so let's take a look at one of our other screens that we can go to, and this is our activity feed. And here we can see your names, we can see your avatars, and we can see how you're getting on with the activity. So I can see here that Mariam at Carluke High School, you know your castle defences. Kyle at Bucksburn.
Yeah, I can see some people from Birchborough Primary School as well.
Catherine at Birchgrove Primary School has been telling us why castles have a single entrance.
It's good, there's hundreds of people playing just now, Daniel, as well, working through this step.
Yeah, there's well over 100 of you taking part just now, or there was when I checked about 10 minutes ago. I'm sure that number is quite a bit higher now. Owen at Bridge of Dawn Academy, again, single entrance. Kyle, you've been telling us about different castle defences.
Great.
Super.
So how are we doing here, Daniel? Are we at a point where, do we think most people have managed to isolate the networks yet, or should we give people another minute or so to do this?
I think if we give people another 30 seconds or so to get to that point so that they have the network isolated, and then after that we'll be ready to move on. But Craig, what is it we're doing when we talk about isolating the network? That button at the end of this phase, what does that do?
So basically this is a way that you can sort of physically separate the different parts of your computer network. So sometimes you might want your computer systems to be physically connected to each other so that you can send messages. But if something is a bit, to lower the risk, then what you might want to do is physically separate them apart. It's a bit like putting a wall or having a gap between two different things, because that way, if you're isolating a network, it means that you are, there's no chance of someone who's connected to one part of it being able to get into another part of it as well. And that's really important in terms of all types of cybersecurity, because that way, say for example, a criminal or there was a virus or something that was infecting one part of your computer systems, you wouldn't want it to be able to spread to the different parts as well. Daniel, I've got a question about the isolating the networks, and I think I know the answer, but you might. I'm not sure if I know it or not. You can tell me this. See, when you isolate the network, is it a software thing that's separating them? Can it be a physical separation, or can it be a mixture of both?
I mean, it can be a mixture of both. Quite often it is digital, but there'll be a different bit of networking hardware in the cabinet. But actually, if there was a big cyber attack or whatnot, and you had to act quickly, I've heard of a lot of sort of chief security officers or teams telling people, pull out that cable, take that cable out, unplug that box, because then you can be sure that nothing's actually going through. So yeah, I suppose it does happen in real life as unplugging it, but quite more often than not, it's done digitally, and yeah, it's to segment the network to stop viruses or other things spreading across different zones.
So how are we doing, Daniel? Are people managing to, I can see a lot of people now. Stuart has been able to isolate the networks. Erin's been isolating the networks. And who else have we got there? Daniel as well. Someone from Birchborough Primary is able to get the data centre as well. Thank you very much. I think we're just about ready, Daniel.
Yeah, I think we're ready to move on to onto the sort of second phase of our of our sort of security fortification today. So in this phase, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some other security features. So what you need to do is follow the instructions and complete the tasks.
So remember, everything that you're doing here is about making the Stirling Castle computer systems more secure. So you've done that first part, you've been isolating the networks. What is it we're going to do now?
Yeah, so we're going to set up a few different security features. So we're going to think about how can we let in only the people we want to let into the castle or into the computer room, and how can we keep everybody else out. So there's going to be a few different questions about things like passwords. There's going to be some sort of interesting methods that were used in Stirling Castle to kind of keep intruders out. And I think, do you know what, I think I've got some questions that we could ask Kirsten. Craig, what do you think?
That's great. Yep, let's bring Kirsten back in. So Kirsten, we're thinking about other ways that castles were keeping secure as well. So we've got a question here, and I want to know the answer to this. Did people ever try to sneak past the guards pretending to be someone else? Or if they got in, how were they going to get stopped?
No doubt there will have been people will have tried to get into the castle, maybe perhaps in disguise to get past the gatehouse. But really, castles did have guards, like security guards. So I mean, as we mentioned already, the only way in is through the gatehouse. So if you've got guards down there, they're going to check who's trying to come in. They would know who is coming in, so perhaps have a list of who's been invited to come into the castle. So it really would be difficult to get in and beyond the gatehouse and the guards.
And if people got through the sort of gatehouse, like something that I've heard about is these sort of, I've got some pictures.
Oh
of
yes,
them as well.
yes, yes. You'll be mentioning there the murder holes. Yes. So actually, at a gatehouse, you could have double portcullises. So a portcullis is the metal gate that goes up and if you were to get beyond the first portcullis and get trapped between that one and the next one, then there's murder holes above you, and not very nice things could be put down those murder holes on top of your head.
Yeah, I think we've had a few suggestions come in as well, Daniel, of things that people would be dropping through those murder holes. I can see that someone from Birch Grove Primary School has said that they would drop hot oil onto an attacker. Excellent. Yep. Some school mentioned dropping stones or boulders as well. Again, pretty painful. Can you see any, Daniel?
I can see hot sand. Another one.
Yeah.
Heat it over the fire and then drop it down.
What would you drop down a murder hole? What would you drop down, Kirsten?
What would I drop down? I think the hot burning sand, perhaps one, or I mean, really anything. I think they chucked really anything on top of it. Yeah.
Excellent. So people are still working through this activity just now, Daniel. I can see that they're making themselves more secure, but can you tell us more from a sort of cybersecurity point of view? The person was talking about stopping intruders. How could we stop digital intruders in the same way?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that we keep people out of computer systems and networks, and the most simple one is we ask people to say who they are, and we ask them for a secret word. So that's your username and your password. So the idea is we all have our own username or email address, and then we all have different passwords, and hopefully no one else knows any of your passwords. So basically every website or app or service, they have that list, and that's what they're checking. Okay, do we know that email address? Yeah. Do we know this person's password? Okay, does that match up? Yeah, okay, we'll let them in. They can access the network, and if it doesn't match up, well, you just get an error message where it says that your password's wrong. But we know that sometimes we can get past that. So what different networks have are things called intrusion detection systems, and those are really smart. What they do is they quietly look at all the traffic going in and out of the network. They look at who logs in at what times. They look at when lots of data gets sent in and out. So perhaps the company does a backup every Wednesday morning. So it'll know, okay, so every Wednesday morning, we expect lots of data to be going out of the network, so it lets that through. But then it it pays attention and it looks for things which are abnormal, unusual. So perhaps maybe it turns out that on Tuesday evening there was lots of data being sent out from a computer that's normally turned off at that time. It might go, oh, that's suspicious, that's strange. Is that confidential information? It doesn't know, but it knows it's not normal. So it'll send a flag. So someone will get a phone call or an email or an alert will come up on the screen in the security operations center, so someone in the team can deal with it, they can check it out. So that's one of the main things we have, these intrusion detection systems. And I can see lots of you have been installing an intrusion detection system on the Stirling Castle computer system. I think we could have a look and give some shout outs to you that are doing that.
Yeah, let's do it. So well done to Alec for setting their password from Carluke High School. Thanks for taking part. And Jack from Carluke High School setting their password as well.
I can see Josh has installed an intrusion detection system.
And I can see that Nathan from Carluke High School has also installed that as well. And Natasha from Bridge of Dawn Academy. Wow, there's lots of people taking part just now, Daniel. My screen is updating really quickly. I've been able to, and Alice from Birch Grove Primary dropped something on the attackers as well. Brilliant.
Jamie's telling us what you drop on from the murder holes.
And Aaron has also managed to install the intrusion detection system as well and set the strictness level. I think we give people another minute or two to work through this, Daniel, as well. This is brilliant.
Yeah, I think we give you all another sort of minute or so to work through this. But I can see Ryan and Gregor have been setting up the strictness on the intrusion detection system, and that strictness is basically sort of like, at what point does normal become not normal? How sensitive are we being? And one of the systems at Plate somewhere I used to work, it went from sort of like sleeping, as in like, oh, it just lets everything pass, all the way up to paranoid mode. And paranoid mode meant if you did anything that was like even slightly unusual, it just shut it down. It just was automatic. It isolated that bit of the network. It disconnected that person, and it kind of just, so that's probably a bit too extreme for most times. But you know, it's really handy having those tools and being able to adjust it as well to kind of suit your sort of threat level is also really handy.
I don't know, Daniel. I think we can also learn from some of the historic elements and bring it into modern cybersecurity. Surely pouring hot burning sand over a hard drive would be a good way to stop cyber criminals as well. If you involved in a cyber attack and had hot burning sand poured over your hard drive, remember, you can tweet us how you're getting on today. So you can use the hashtag CyberSkillsLive and you can tag us at DigitalWorldHQ. If you're a teacher or an adult, you can show us how you're getting on as well. We like to see how people are using the activities. Daniel, how are people doing in terms of working through? Are we ready to move on?
Let's have a look again. Let's see. So I can see a few of you are still setting passwords and looking at suspicious packets. So Toby, Harvey, Dylan, Hannah. So let's give you another 30 seconds or so. We'll leave the activity feed up and you can watch out for your name, and then we'll be moving on after that.
Okay, we can see you've set up secure passwords and installed the intrusion detection system. Good work. You're starting to make Stirling Castle's computer systems more secure. So we're ready now to move on to the next phase. So Daniel, what is it we're going to be doing in this next phase?
Yeah, so in this phase, we're going to be doing a bit of maintenance. We're going to be looking at why it's important to keep security systems up to date, keep our defenses kind of maintained and improving all of the time. And I think let's bring back Kirsten as well.
Bring back Kirsten.
So,
Kirsten, we only bring you in when we've got a question about castles here, but I've got another question that's come in here, and it's about changing in technology as well. So tell us a bit about the changes in technology and what it meant. And like we're talking about, we always think about technology changing nowadays and things being updated. But
Sure.
what did it mean for the people who were defending Stirling Castle?
Yeah, well, one kind of major change in technology or development is actually gunpowder. So gunpowder was introduced to Britain 14th century, although it was actually invented in China in the 9th century. So with that meant much stronger weapons to attack and defend castles. So the likes of cannons started to be used and guns known as muskets. So really, pre-stone castles, you had wooden castles. So a wooden castle wouldn't withstand the gunpowder attack, so a stone castle being much stronger. But actually, one thing Stirling has that a lot of castles had defence-wise at the entrance to the castle is what is known as earth walls. So earth walls were two stone walls, and in between the two stone walls, compacted earth. So basically, the earth wall would defend against a cannon warfare. So if a cannonball was to be fired at the outer wall, it may go through the first wall, but the earth is there to absorb the impact of that cannonball. So we've got good examples of earth walls at Stirling Castle.
Excellent. And I suppose, with these changes in technology, we had to get smarter then at protecting the castles.
Yes,
Daniel,
yeah.
what do cybersecurity architects have to do to protect computer systems as technology changes?
yeah, again, I think there's a few different things, but one of the main things we do is we install software updates. So people who make software, people that make sort of computers and different hardware, they create patches, security patches. And basically it means whenever viruses or whenever cybercriminals find another flaw or a vulnerability, they get called, what the software engineers do is they fix the hole, they patch up the hole, and they put out an update for you to install. And basically by installing that update, that makes your systems more secure against the attackers. And the reason you have to do this is because the techniques and the tools that cybercriminals use, that changes all the time, and computer viruses mutate just like real viruses do. So you've got to kind of keep your defenses up to date. Now, we actually
Kirsten,
have
who
asked
would be
you...
the equivalent of I was going to ask Kirsten first, who would be the equivalent in sort of castles of doing the repairs and the sort of patching? They must have had someone doing something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd have what is known as stonemasons. So they would basically be carving stone and repairing any damage to the walls of the castle and rebuilding it. So a bit like you have in the construction world today, builders.
Excellent. Daniel.
Yeah, so we've got some more results of what you said, because we asked you a question. We asked you how often you install updates on your phones, how often do you update your apps, and I think it'd be interesting to take a look at those results. I can see quite a lot of you have answered that question. And again, this is live data, so this is going to change as more of you get to this question, but it looks like quite an even split to me, Craig. I can tell you that the green section, which is the largest one, that's people whose apps update automatically. They don't even have to think about it. They're always kept up to date. And as sort of a cybersecurity worker, that's what I think is the best thing to do. And sort of remove the human error. Don't forget about it. Just have it do it automatically.
Although, Daniel, I'm slightly concerned that some people are maybe updating less regularly than that. There's about 13 people who've said that they only update once a week. In fact, there's 6 people, Daniel, who say that they never update their security systems. Interesting.
It's a good idea to keep your apps up to date. You also get new features, which is always cool. But yeah, that's
and
it.
Do you know what? I think that most people don't even realise that their software is being updated in the background as well. So I'm hoping that those people just don't realise it's set to automatic updates, Daniel, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely could be that. A lot of computer systems do update themselves automatically, which is good.
Should we have a look and see how people are getting on?
Yeah, let's take a
Before we
look
do
at
our
our
little section.
board.
So well done to Bailey and Nathan from Curluke. You have set a trap. Brilliant. We'll talk about that in a second. And Lowry from Birchgrove Primary, you've also set a trap as well. Who else have we got taking part, Daniel?
Yeah, Christian's been looking at trip steps. I think I'm going to ask Kirsten about that in just a second. Daniel at Birchgrove has been looking at traps on computer networks and what they're called. I think Oren just
Kay
enabled
from
a
Bertha
trap.
Park. I just saw Kay from Bertha Park has also enabled a trap as well, so thanks for taking part.
Nick Hill at Birchgrove has enabled a trap.
This is brilliant, Daniel, just having a bunch of cybersecurity defenders doing all the work for us here.
I know, it's really good, isn't it? There's a lot of you all kind of working together and doing slightly different things to kind of set up and improve the security that we've got at the castle. And these traps that on the network, this is something that cybersecurity engineers like doing, and they're called honeypots. And what you do is you put another computer, you put a dummy computer on your network. So you make it look like it's got the important data. Maybe you call it something like customer details, or you give it a name like confidential or something. And you're trying to attract the cyber criminals to the honeypot. And basically you watch the honeypot very closely. And if you spot anyone trying to sort of break into it or whatnot, well, that lets you know that someone's trying to break into the networks, and it gives you time so you can scramble and respond to the attackers. So these traps, you might think traps, so that's quite an old-fashioned thing to do, but actually they're really useful in cybersecurity and in sort of watching and learning how these cyber criminals work and how they think, and it just buys you a bit of extra time. Kirsten, the castles have traps as well, or like what did they look like? I can see someone was talking about trip steps from Birchgrove Primary.
Yeah, well done to that pupil, yeah, because they would have the likes of trip steps. In fact, we've got one in Stirling that I always trip on, but we've had to paint it so that I'm aware of it. But usually trip steps, you'd get them in spiral staircases, so the ones in towers that go round up and up onto the roof of the buildings. So it was a step that was usually a bit deeper than the other steps, so that anyone, if they did get into the castle and were coming up that staircase, they would obviously trip on that and yeah, unfortunate for them. But also, you had things like they would make doorways sort of smaller as well. A lot of people think that small doorways in castles meant people were smaller or shorter, but in actual fact, that could be a defence as well, so that if someone was to get in the castle and try and come through that door, the person defending on the other side is prepared and ready, and obviously that person, if it's a small door, has to kind of, they're not seeing ahead of themselves. So that in itself would help. And I wouldn't say it's a trap, but it certainly helps those inside the castle if any enemy get in.
I can think as well, Kirsten, that after 600 years, the Master Mason should be really still pleased with the fact that they're still managing to trip you up, even if you work at the castle. You're still not forgotten about that one. Daniel, I think that we've set up now. I think we're ready to move on to our next phase and get ready to test our security systems.
Yep, I think we are as well. I think we're ready to kind of move on to the next phase. So I can see that you've been updating and patching your software. You've got your honeypots activated. Good work. You're starting to make these computer systems really quite secure now. You've added in lots of different technologies. But do you think your security systems are secure enough? Well, we're going to find out. What we're going to do is I'm going to push some buttons and run a stress test sequence, and that's a simulated cyber attack on your system, and it's going to be your job to defend against them.
So in a moment, you'll see a security operations center control screen. So it's got 4 panels, and the system will automatically detect incoming attacks and tell you what to do. So you have to follow those instructions as quickly as you can. Do not make a mistake. It is important to be accurate. So Daniel, are you ready to start running that test sequence? Are we ready to start attacking all these security systems?
I'll be ready. I've already launched it because you don't know when the attack's coming. It's on its way to you.
Brilliant. So the attack is in progress. And as people are following those instructions, we'll be able to tell how well that they're doing.
Oh, Craig, sorry. I think we lost the feed for a second there. Would you want to repeat that?
Yes. I'm just saying, as people are working through this activity now and you're defending these systems, we'll be able to keep an eye on how you're doing and find out sort of how you're doing at stopping this attack.
Yeah, let's head to our score table. So let's see here. I can see Ryan at Bertha Park. You're on 32. In at Bertha Park, you're in the lead. You're at 35.
Someone from Carluke High School is starting to catch up there. We're at 33 there. 34 now for Bertha Park High School. Daniel, they're doing well here, getting more scores.
Yeah, these are some high scores because once you get above 30 or 40, it gets really quite fast. So I think we might see our score table changing around a bit. Oh, we've hit 50.
That's brilliant. People doing really well here, managing to defend the castles from attack. But those attacks just keep coming, Daniel. You're running more of them.
Yep, they're just gonna keep coming. They're gonna keep getting faster. E at Carluke, well done. You've hit 50.
Keep going. If you're not on the leaderboard yet, you've still got a chance. If someone makes a mistake, they'll be reset back to 0. So make sure you keep going.
Craig, we've got a new leader. It's C, I don't know your full name, but C at Craigmount High School in the mid-60s. That's a really impressive score.
Excellent. Keep going.
Craig, what was your score when you had a go?
About 30, actually.
I got into the
do as well
50s,
as
but
this.
that was as far as I could get.
Yeah. So even the people that are involved in making this attack system, we're not doing as well as some people here from Carluke High School. Well done. Craigmount High School, Bertha Park High School. I think we've got about a minute to go, Daniel.
Yep, let's go for a minute. Let's see if anyone can enter the leaderboard. Oh, Carmen and Amy, you've just entered the leaderboard, 54.
Well, coming in at the last moment, you could still do it. Because C at Craigmount High School hasn't changed from that top position, so there's still a chance to beat them. Coming up now to the last 30 seconds or so, Daniel.
Ooh, it's almost time to stop the attack. Okay, I think it's time to stop the attack. give yourselves a break. So
excellent.
Let's move
well
on
done.
to the next one. So well
should we
done.
give a shout out to our top 3 defenders today, Daniel?
Yeah, so we've got C at Craigmount High School, Ryan at Bertha Park High School, and I, who's joining from a different school, 61 points. You all made it into the 60s, which is really, really impressive. So well done, everyone. You all passed. But yeah, special mention to those of you that were in the top 3. Craig, what have we been doing? Like, let's sum up what you've all done today.
Yeah, so we spoke about learning how, we basically learned how Master Masons were designing castles with security in mind. And then we looked at the similarities between security in the times that the castles were built right through to modern ages as well. And then you worked as a security architect to implement some of these cybersecurity features as well. And then finally, you stress tested the castle's cybersecurity systems against the simulated cyber attack that Daniel ran. Well done, everyone, for taking part. Hopefully you've seen then those parallels between what things like Stirling Castle can teach us about modern cybersecurity practices. It surprised me, Daniel, that a lot of the stuff that people were thinking about in the past is actually still relevant now when it comes to technology skills.
Yeah, especially around sort of like letting people in and out, having that list of known people, looking for strange or suspicious behaviour, trip steps, traps. I mean, these are all things that we do in modern, even positioning of where we put our data centres, where you put the castle. Yeah, there's so many similarities in physical security and cyber security, and I'm sure there's still lots more that we could learn.
So we'll have one final task for you today, which is to share your feedback about how you got on. While you fill in that feedback, Kirsten, welcome back. you're going to tell us a bit more about how you can actually work in the heritage sector.
Sure, yeah. So Historic Environment Scotland's a very big agency, and there's many career paths that you can do. So starting with mine, I'm a learning officer, so I'm a bit like a classroom teacher. That's part of what I do, but I also manage projects, even have beehives that I manage at the castle. So it's not all just about history, there's other things as well, other subject areas that I cover. So it's great fun and project managing, etc. Then you've got we've got known as directorates. There's another directorate called conservation. So that's the staff that will look after our heritage. So you could be, as we mentioned there, a stonemason, an electrician, a plumber, a gardener, an architect, and so on and so on. So there's many career paths in conservation. Then you've got tourism. So you could become a steward, so giving guided tours to visitors around the site. You could be working in retail, because we have some of our sites have shops on site. Catering, because we have catering, daytime catering, cafes at the castles, etc. Even catering in the evening when there's functions, because we hire out sites for events. There's another one, events manager. It goes on and on. You've got media jobs, related jobs as well. So we have a comms team, a media team, so looking after our Facebook accounts, Twitter, etc., etc. So really many jobs, admin, human resources, looking after the staff, so finance, goes on and on.
Cybersecurity?
Must be cybersecurity as well. Absolutely, we've got our IT team that look after our computer systems. Absolutely.
That's brilliant. So this really is a career option then for everyone.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time today, Kirsten. It's been great having you here and answering all these questions about the history of the castle and how it was secured. Daniel, what are we up to next?
Yeah, so next month or in a couple of weeks' time, we've got another live lesson, and it's another security one, but this time it's going to be all about open source intelligence. So we're going to be investigating a ferry company, Broughty Ferries, because there's some rumours that they've been smuggling trainers. So if you want to kind of investigate Broughty Ferries, hopefully we'll see you then. But you can play all of our activities anytime on our website. And the website will be down below in just a second, but it's cyberskillslesson.com, and we've got data science.
Daniel, we're on YouTube.
Cybersecurity.
We're on YouTube.
We are on YouTube.
Make sure that we have to say it then. So make sure you like this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can keep up to date with our future activities as well. I think we're just about ready then to wrap things up.
Yeah, so again, thank you very much for taking part today. Thank you to Kirsten again. It's bye from Kirsten.
Bye from me. Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.
It's bye from Craig.
Bye-bye.
And it's bye from me as well. See you next time.